welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week, the first of which is a game called Mutant Ops. So Mutant Ops is a first-person score attack game that's got a low poly aesthetic. I wonder if that's... I suppose it's a genuine aesthetic, given what they've got going here.
Well, like I said, I'm pretty sure that was intentional.
Yeah. And it's not just, these are, say, inexperienced or, a small team of devs tackling a 3D, a fully 3D game. Also worth noting that this is an Unreal Engine game, which is not rare on the indie free-to-play scene kind of deal, but not that common either. So at the very least, it's got a theoretically powerful tool set behind it. Unlike in practice, well, you're only as good as your development capabilities, I suppose. Because, if you will recall our broadcast from a couple of days ago showcasing what we could of the multiplayer. Now, in fairness, unlike the rest of the game, the multiplayer was listed as in beta. Like the other parts of the game, this is apparently a 1.0 release. And not something that's in the earlier stages of early access. Which is harrowing, to say the least.
Yeah, the multiplayer, was comparatively functional for being allegedly in beta compared to the rest of the game, which is
really
I
clunky.
Would have been
really clunky is
yeah. And the multiplayer is just the same thing, only with more people. So
yeah.
And this is exactly what it says on the, not so much the tin, but the promotional blurb on Steam. You go around this arena and you start killing things, very skirting around copyright creatures like Koopa Troopas and Dragon Quest slimes.
No, they're not Koopa Troopas. They're Spinies. They have spikes on them.
Fair enough.
And they only have one eye. That's the distinguishing feature. Is they're like one-eyed Koopa Spinies, and one-eyed.
Fair enough. They are the legally distinct.
Yes, but yeah. You just have to kill nondescript monsters or slightly descript monsters and the gym mats that spawn them.
I wouldn't say they're nondescript.
Fair enough.
They could have gone a lot more in the way of genericness, with your default skins. It's very generic mercenary stuff. And
a little real-world military contractor for the fanciful things that you're supposed to be fighting, in fact.
Yeah. Worth noting that skins is how this thing presumably makes its money. In the sense
you can't
that
even change your stupid mercenary thing. All the skins are for is your guns.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it,
man. Cosmetics? Cosmetics account for a lot. If they didn't, they wouldn't.
Yeah, but I really don't find any particular desire in painting the lower receiver of my handgun plaid.
No, I get that. Maybe not specifically for this game, but cosmetic items are a moneymaker for a few different reasons. Because people like customizing. It's also, if you go, an example is in Fortnite, if you go with free skins, you will be ostracized for that. But in this game, I don't think people are going to care that much about what skin you're wearing.
It's not care. I'm not even sure they'll notice. Unless you make your submachine gun entirely pink and then get a submachine gun.
I'm like, probably not, but apparently, the game makers here think that that's enough of a selling point to literally sell you that point.
Disclaimer: it may be a little bit more user friendly than I'm imagining it is, because none of us felt any particular need to donate this game any of our hard-earned money.
Right.
But I don't think there's anything to be lost by assuming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to say that there's even much of a community, because this game isn't like clan based or anything like that. Multiplayer is,
and as is, it seems to be only like 3 of 4 players. So
yeah, multiplayer is constrained to 4-player max currently, which isn't a huge amount. But then again, this isn't strictly. This isn't a normal first-person shooter. This is, basically a modernish take on ancient game ideas, because score attack stuff is among the oldest ideas in gaming. But like, to go older, you have to go to like Pong.
Pong was still score attack.
Right, but this is specifically more like Space Invaders.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Only it's first person, and you are playing as not Call of Duty people. I'm like, anyway, so as far as problems with the multiplayer, yeah, we've had worse. We've definitely had better.
Like, the only actual problem we had with the multiplayer is we could not get all 4 of us into a match,
which seems to be a consistent problem, not just with us, but according to other Steam reviews, there have been this thing has popped up, and presumably this is one of the things that they are working on to get this particular mode out of beta.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and as far as the gameplay itself goes, it probably looks better here than it actually. Like, game feel is one of those really hard things to quantify unless you've actually played the game.
Yeah, I had to turn up the sensitivity a lot on the mouse look. And there's a lot of dumb stuff, like there's a crouch function, and it does actually make you quote unquote crouch, as in your shins sink into the earth. But it doesn't change your viewpoint at all. So you're crouching, but your head doesn't, like, your camera doesn't move.
Yeah, this game has all sorts of jankiness. Like, y'all pointed out that the car models don't have any shadows, but the donuts and such do.
Yeah, one of the cars was a police car, so they put donuts on the front, but the donuts had better visual effects than the actual car.
Mm-hmm.
Or the assets probably could have come with that. The entire production does portend a perhaps hobbyist or just starting out affair. Like, I don't know the dev experience on.
I suppose that's more charitable than asset flip.
I don't think it's an asset flip since it's Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Like, plus, it's like Unity's the one that's really known for asset flips. I'm not saying that Unreal doesn't have ready-made assets, especially from Epic Games failed projects like Paragon, which have been made completely free, a few years ago. But I'm just saying, like, asset flips with Unreal Engine tend not to happen because Unreal tends to, my understanding of it from afar is that Unreal is a much more complicated tool set to work with. I mean that's one of the reasons why Unity is the engine of choice for asset flipping. It's really
that and the fact that it was
yeah.
There's a free version, which there was. Well, Unreal has a free version now, if I recall correctly, sort of.
Yeah, it's not just having a free version, but it's having really cheap assets available. I think that Z-Pack thing goes for a few $100s. I'm not exactly sure, but it clearly goes for little enough where the people who flip these assets feel no compunctions about plunking down that money and trying to sell it on Steam or mobile, what have you. And that particular asset pack keeps popping up, or at least it did a few years ago. Granted, my knowledge of the state of those asset flips is kind of obscured since Jim Sterling stopped doing them. I'm sure there are people who are still keeping tabs or whatever.
I mean, say what you will about the studios that just churn out asset flips. They probably don't have a lot of people having to work crunch hours.
True. I'm like, I suppose that is a point in their direction. And, here's Petty showing off all of the various weapons, and, it's also another reason why I have a hard time seeing people investing actual money in this game is this is a score attack game.
It's a score attack game that doesn't even have many maps or different characters to use, or
it has the content of an Atari 2600 game, and the allure of multiplayer and first-person shooting and all that stuff is dynamic combat. Multiplayer matches, have a special allure because it's humans against humans, or a band of humans against the computer. It's organic interactions that can't really be replicated game to game to game to game. Whereas this, it's going to be pretty much the same thing every time, even in multiplayer. And I don't know what their content plans for this game is, but at time of review, there's not a lot to keep you coming back. That being said, this game is free, and is it worth your time? I guess maybe briefly, provided you adjust the sensitivity. Also worth noting that you can't change the some of the key bindings. Another cardinal sin of PC game development. But your walking keys are permanently bound to WASD, which is bad for me because I'm left-handed and I hate using WASD because it's too cumbersome for my particular hand configuration. I usually I'll switch that out to arrow keys because that's what I'm comfortable with. So, if they can change that in a future update, I would like to see that. In terms of music, there isn't any. At least I don't remember any. You guys remember any music?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Of course, I'm also repressing all of my entire memory of the session, so I could be misreporting.
Yes. And let's see. Well, as mentioned in pricing, this game is free. It's just, okay, their skins are $5. per skin. So not worth it. Do not, if you want to...
Like, if there were skins that let you play as fucking Bigfoot, then maybe.
Even at $5 for what they're going here, like, once again...
I'm not saying it's actually a good idea. I'm just saying if that was the case, then maybe it would be plausible.
Okay, so the problem with the aesthetic here is what I like to call the Rudalikia problem. It's got a general aesthetic that's actually pretty solid and functional, but isn't really evocative of anything. Like, okay, you've got it's like, honestly, the borderline stolen monster designs have more personality than this hand-me-down modern military shooter stuff.
Which, admittedly, you spend more time looking at the monsters than you spend looking on your own character model, but I have a hard time believing that single player was the intended primary play mode of this game.
Right, but, you look at the weapons here. Yeah, they're just low
power. Oh, yeah, they're just ordinary fucking guns.
Yeah.
You don't get to have, like, a magic fucking super soaker or something fun like that.
Yeah. And, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, adopting a lo-fi aesthetic just for the sake of having a lo-fi aesthetic, as opposed to an actual invocation of the past. There's nothing here that invokes a 90s shooter.
Speaking of which, where's my fucking Nerf FPS where you get to use Nerf guns to shoot clearly fake? I know they don't want to be associated with actual violence, but, like...
I think the Wii got a couple of those. Yes.
It probably didn't work. Just Nerf has some great, like, funny weapon designs for a fantasy, non-serious shooty game.
Like the Nerf N-Strike series. I forget if that was a first-person shooter or if it was a rail shooter. But it was definitely a shooter of some kind with Nerf weapons.
Anyway, sorry, that was not actually related to anything involving this game. You can tell because it was possibly a good idea.
You can tell that we're not very high on this game. In fact, expect this on the worst of list. Like, if you want to hear more thoughts that are raw, very, very raw, you can go watch the multiplayer stream. Also, Petty, be sure to preserve that because I don't think you cut that yet. Like, anyway, any other comments on Mutant Ops here? I suppose. I guess Twilight. Do you have anything to add?
Not really.
Okay, fair enough. Petty, you said plenty on Friday. Oh. Anyway, so that'll about do it for Mutant Ops. To the glee of my staff here, they really hated it. Honestly, I think I might hate this the least. Like,
I'm really indifferent towards it.
Well, it's a free game. Like, that, it's like that kind of price. I'll be a lot lighter than if it's like, honestly, the thing that insults me the most in terms of pricing is the $5 skins that are not worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
outside of that, I'm like, you'll waste. If you pick this up, you'll waste a bit of time, and you'll probably chuck it and go play something else.
At least with Steam, when you delete it, it's gone.
True enough. Anyway, that'll about do it for Wizard Ops here. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Reflection of Mine.